in the world, let's just say North America, the average American worker is 39 years old. That same 39 years old changes jobs every 3 years. So today it's 39 years old and they change jobs every 3 years. When they work for a female in leadership, same 39 years old, you can't change that. But instead of 3 years, it's 6 years.
Welcome to the Expert in You podcast, the show where we have real conversations with established founders, firm owners, and B2B experts selling their expertise as services. We talk about what's happening now inside experienced businesses where positioning, influence, and growth directly affect opportunities and contracts. I'm Ann Carden. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, Ann Carden. And my guest today is a wow. And I know if you follow the show, I don't normally read the bios, but I have to read his bio. So first of all, Don Barden, welcome to my show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Be careful what you're reading. I always say if you're going to make something up, make it good. So go ahead.
There you go. You can already see what a great guy he is. But seriously, his bio is a wow. It is so impressive. So let me just read this really quick. Dr. Don Barden is a classically trained economist and globally recognized expert in leadership and decision-making. He spent 25 years as a corporate executive in institutional finance and global economics, building teams that averaged over $1 billion in annual revenue. During the doctoral studies at Columbia International University, he identified a common thread among the elite leaders that it became the foundation for his book, The Perfect Plan, which is now published in 39 countries worldwide. Don was named one of the top 30 most transformational leaders in North America. Get this, by John Maxwell. The 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year by Atlanta Business Chronicle, and received full honors from the Department of Defense and the 75th U.S. Army Ranger Regiment. He lectures at Oxford University, the Wharton School of Business, and Wake Forest University, and is a frequent instructor at the U.S. Army Ranger Leadership and Professional Development Program. His newest work, Here Comes the Girls, which we're going to talk about today, I'm super excited about this topic, is a #1 Amazon release in economics, exploring the global leadership shift that will occur between 2028 and 2032 as women take over global leadership roles. Don is the founder of The Perfect Plan Consulting and the Perfect Plan community, where he brings his frameworks directly to entrepreneurs and leaders ready to grow. And there's one thing you don't have in this, but in doing some research on you, Don, I have to say that your philanthropy work, your charity work with teenagers and also with Rangers is extraordinary. And you didn't have that on here, but I want to bring that up. I love when people are giving and they're giving back, and wow. Okay. Wow. So that was a lot. There's a lot packed into that.
Wow, thank you. I've always I tell people that my life has been a mix between Forrest Gump and Jason Bourne, but unfortunately, it's more on the Forrest Gump side, a little bit less exciting. But I'm just happy to be here. And honestly, Ann, I love what you're doing. I love your show. I've listened to every episode. I think it's fantastic, and I appreciate what you're taking out to the world. One thing I've learned is that, like, for someone like you, you're planting seeds and you're helping people. And these are seeds that you might not ever see grow. You might not enjoy the shade, but somebody will. So your work is generational. And I just want to tell you, thank you. I love it. And I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you. That's really, really nice. And yes, putting all that content and everything out into the world, I mean, it will be around forever, right?
Oh, yeah. So, whether you like it or not, you're here. You're eternal. We're immortal. Yeah.
It's not like the old days. The old days I used to say, you would go and you'd speak on a stage and then it'd be done. Or you would go and you'd run an ad in a newspaper or magazine, or have something in print, but then it kind of was done. And that's the beautiful thing about the internet. How did we ever live without it? I don't know.
Well, there's a whole generation, they'll never know life without it. So, yeah. Well, we're dating ourselves. We need to move on, and we're dating ourselves. I know.
And we were just talking about how fast time flies. But, Don, I have to say, one of the reasons I was just really excited to have you on here is you're, #1, doing extraordinary work, and you've just accomplished so much. But you have released some innovative ideas and things that you're talking about now, and I just knew these were going to be great episodes. So, and by FYI, I'm putting him on 2 shows because there's so much to talk about here. But we want to talk today about Here Come the Girls. This is the book he has coming out, and I work with a lot of women that are in business, and I love this topic because we've been seeing this rise with women and even with wealth, generational wealth, and all of these shifts. And so we're just really going to dive into that today and talk about that. You have done some extensive research around what is going on with women in business. And so let's talk about that, Don. What have you discovered, and what's coming up for women to get excited about?
Yeah, it's exciting. And, it's really interesting because it's a deeply complex subject that when you structure it becomes incredibly obvious. You can't ignore it and you can't unsee it, which the irony is that's where it began. It began through the power of observation. About 7 or 8 years ago, I was looking around and my mind just started thinking about it and noticing that over, multiple decade career, I sort of entered the Wall Street world at the end of the Mad Men era. Where things were just different. There's no judgment. It was just different. And I watched the world change. And in that change, the most significant observation is the number of women in leadership and in power and in business ownership. And so I started noticing that it felt to me like it had kind of crossed a tipping point where it was almost the majority of clients and people I was working with, just in my regular everyday, how do I get paid world as a consultant and an economist. And I said, wow, that's really interesting. So I started paying attention to it, and I kind of put my nerdy hat on. I had all these whiteboards while I was doing all this calculus and calculations and looking at all these correlating events. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, if I'm right, which we proved that the theory is correct, women are going to take over global leadership in the year 2028. And by global leadership, I mean everything from the corner deli to parliament. It's going to be dominated by women. So we approached it from a mathematical perspective. And science is going to divide you into 2 paths. Math, which is quantifiable, or the quality of the work, which is qualifiable. Rarely do they want to talk about it together. I mean, rarely. Science wants to say, okay, it's just a math problem, solve it, move on. Or, wow, that's a phenomenological event. Wow, that's really cool. Study it, but leave it alone. As we started looking at it, I thought to myself, this is both. And as a scientist, it's so rare, so rare. So the math told us that women were going to take over. It's undeniable. It started back in the 50s. It really picked up speed around 2000, 2002. And that train has left the station. It's not going to stop. But to me, the obvious thing to ask, and I'll just say it bluntly, is, okay, ladies, you're about to have the keys. Are you any good at it? I mean, that's how science looks. It's yes or no. Are you good at it or not? Because no is a great answer because now you know what to deal with. Yes is a great answer because you also know what to deal with. So I looked at it from an academic point of view and I said, I know we're going to break some rules here, but we need to study the qualitative and the quantitative. Quantitative, the math, undeniable. Qualitative, okay, roll up your sleeves, because we had to interview thousands of women around the world and start to figure out what they do and how they do it. And then they open our eyes to other math and more things to look at. And the good news is not only is it going to happen in 2028, women are so much better than men at doing this. And I'm not anti-male. I'm clearly a guy. I've got 3 adult sons. I like being a guy. This is not anti-guy stuff, okay? Anti-male. This is just an observation. And the research told us that the way women lead directly aligns with male and female consumers in the male and female workforce. In other words, the areas in economics, the working force and the consumer that are the most important are screaming for it. They want it. So at the same time, culturally, we're shifting. Women have risen to this level, and the methodology that women use inherently and through study and work and effort and the way your lives are designed is a perfect fit for this. So not only are women good at it, you're great at it, and the timing could not be better. The impact we're going to have on society and economics is, I'll tell you about it as we talk, but it's earth-shattering, like in such a good way.
That is so interesting, and we have been obviously seeing this coming. You know, women and now running for president, and even in other countries, there are now women leaders
Oh, yeah.
that have risen up, and so we're seeing this all across the world. I want to dive into a couple of things though that I know come up in my world, and that is that even though we're seeing this rise, women are still struggling in corporate environments, in a man's world. Let's face it, it's a man's world, right? Women are still struggling to be recognized, to be valued, to get paid what men get paid. Have you dug into some of that too, Don?
Yeah.
I'd love to have a conversation around that.
Absolutely. And that's a really complex conversation too, because the number one question, I'll back up one second. The number one question I get asked, which is not about Here Come the Girls, but just in general media interviews, because I do one or two a day for national and international news. And they always say, Dr. Barden, how's the economy? And I look back at them and say, which one? And they're like, well, the economy. And I'm like, I got news for you. There's no such thing. The economy is a reflection of us, human beings. And we use this reflection of all of us to give us an idea of what's going on and what we can expect into the future. That's what the economy is. It's just a reflection of us. It's a mirror. But there's 8 billion of us. That means there's 8 billion economies out there. And if you want to win the Nobel Prize, figure out the most complex economy, and that's the family. The family is much more complex than any trade unions or tariffs or wars or anything else that's going on, right? So you got to look at this and go, well, wait a minute. All those challenges that you just mentioned are real and they're valid and they happen every day, but not everywhere. So you got to look at it and say, okay, what's really going on here? And I always quote Robin Sharma, great strategist and writer, said that change, which is what we're going through, change, is scary in the beginning, it's messy in the middle, but it's glorious in the end. And right now we've left the scary stage and we're in the messy stage where this conversation comes up. What about pay? Well, you're going to have some women that are saying, I don't even know what you're talking about. You're going to have some data coming back saying, no, it's still very real and it's still really very relevant. And then you're going to have some people scratching their head going, we don't even understand the concept, of that conversation. So everyone is going to have a different viewpoint and a different economy because they are the economy. You are yourself, the most important part. So those things are very, very real. But in this messy part of change, we're coming out of that. And I would say the vast majority is done. You're going to have some stragglers. You're going to have some things, but that goes for men too. If you're working for someone or with somebody that's just a jerk, leave. If they're one of these taking an old patriarchal stance and you don't like it, leave. Find somewhere else, because the vast majority of the energy in this world right now is driven the opposite direction, where there is equality, there is equity, and there's not only equality and equity, there's a rush to give you the keys. In fact, this is true. If I give this lecture to 100 male leaders, 100 of them, 100% of men will stand up and cheer. Men want this. They're excited for women to take over. And it's not just they're tired or whatever. They're looking at this like, wait a minute, if you can make the world better, if you can make our businesses better, if you can make life better, please do it. So most men in leadership, the 100% of real men in leadership are cheering and want this to happen. Now, can you walk down the street and find a couple of people that are just real jerks and old school and patriarchal? Yeah, all over the place. But we can also find some women that aren't so nice either. So you got to kind of make up your mind on where you want to be. But the unbelievable shift that's happening as we get through this messy part and running toward that glory is exactly what you want it to be and what everyone's dreamed of it to be. Women don't buy into those things. Women don't look at things about gender and how things should work. Now, you're going to have a few people that are a little, they got an attitude. They're a little bitter. They got a burr in their saddle. That's okay. But at the end of the day,
people anyway, right?
It is. It is. It's not a boy-girl thing.
It's not a gender thing. Exactly.
Right. But we do see the media coming out and picking that half of 1% or 1% or 2% and trying to make that look like the majority. The majority, the vast majority has moved past that. And
Right.
we've got to get through this inflection point, flush out the rest of the messy, because I'm telling you, glory is right at the cusp. And that's where I always try to tell people, let's celebrate that. And if you look at the book, it's called Here Come the Girls, but below it, the tagline, a celebration of why women will take over global leadership. And most people are jumping up and down for this.
I think it's amazing, and you really hit on some points that I kind of want to just shine a light on. And
Sure.
one of the things you said is we kind of create our own economy, and I believe it's very much. I'm not saying that back in the day women, did they get a fair shake and all of that. But I agree with you. I believe we're past that. So I believe if any woman is feeling that, there are some skill sets that probably need to be refined. There's some opportunity there with the confidence in what you are trying to do, so that those things are not happening. And so a lot of those things are teachable.
Yes.
I teach that to women, how to show up in a room and be more confident. And hey, you don't have to, it's not about the designer suit you're wearing. You are the designer suit. You own that baby.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And you know what's interesting, of the female leaders, and we studied thousands around the world, 100% of them, and I love this. We did not see this coming, but it was such a pleasant surprise. And it wasn't we didn't see it coming, we just didn't think about it. 100% celebrated their femininity. Nobody wanted to be a guy. Nobody said, I've got to lead like a man. They wanted to be a girl, and they wanted the guys to be guys. So it was a really interesting study that gender is accepted, but it's embraced, but it's also neutralized too, because when it comes down to it, it just doesn't matter anymore. And it's not going to matter in the future. And you mentioned the politics. I tell people this all the time. If you look at it, Japan just elected their first female prime minister. Japan, probably the world's most homogeneous society with traditions that go back thousands and thousands of years.
That's true. Yes.
Changed. Yeah, it changed. The real thing to watch is Mexico. Mexico just elected its first female presidente, Schomburg. Now, what's interesting about her isn't just that she's the first female president of Mexico. She's the first female president of Mexico who's Jewish. And the reason why that's important, Schomburg's her name. It's not Martinez or a traditional Latino name, but she comes in there. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the most Catholic nation in the world, Mexico makes the Vatican look like amateur hour. They're real. And they said, we want the best person, not just, hey, it's time to elect a woman. We want the person we feel is best. She happens to be a woman and she happens to be Jewish. That's a gigantic shift, but that's a testimony to her. So now, do we know if she's any good or not? No, time will tell. We'll see.
She's risen. Well, evidently,
but she got there.
Feel like she has risen. Yes. To the position. And I think that's an important thing too, to kind of talk about is, have you earned? So a lot of women might blame that this hasn't happened for them. But if I look back over the years in business and all the things that didn't happen for me, when I look back at that, I'm like, no, I wasn't actually as good in that area, or I can see now why that didn't pan out or why that didn't happen. And so I really believe that it's something that we should do as humans, not just women, but as humans, it's always assessing, always evaluating, and always looking at what do I need to do differently? Who do I need to become? Who do I need to step into? What's that identity? Because that is what you are portraying. And that's what you're putting out there into the world, right?
Right. And that's what the world wants.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that, because one thing that we studied intently was the earned state, right? You can't say we're going to wave a magic wand and just give women the keys across the board. You got to earn it. So the question to us was, well, how long does that take? Because it's not an instant thing. Now, you do have the unicorns. You do have the one-off people who just hit a home run, and that's great. God bless them. We're cheering for them. But the overwhelming what's left, the 98% that's left, it takes a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. It's not gender specific. 23 years in leadership before you get to that point, especially corporate. And if you look at the average male or female CEO, they're between 48 and 52 years old right now. I think that's young, but that's just me. So you go back and look
That's
at
because we're older.
everybody's getting young. The world's too young now. But
Not to tell our age or anything, but we're older.
no. But it's been a minute.
Right.
There's a 6 involved in it. But here's what's interesting. It takes 23 years. So if you think about it, when you come into corporate life, say you go through a traditional corporate track right out of college, you're 24, 25 years old. It's going to take you 23 years to the rise to the level of senior leadership, whether it's the CEO or not. Now you can start your own business, but most business owners will tell you it also takes decades before you really figure out what you're doing. So the willingness to put in the time is probably the most important part, but also the willingness to accept humility, which women do very, very well, much better than men, by saying, okay, well, that didn't work out. Instead of saying what went wrong, say what went right and what do I need to do better next time? And that accelerates the mindset and the process. And I think women have done that great. Now, there are blamers. There are people out there that want to pick fights and sell media ads. And I get that. I've been on all those as well. But at the end of the day, the opportunity is there and the math is there and the market wants you and the workforce wants you. So everything is converging all at the same time. In less than about a year and a half, the tipping point is going to happen. Right now, we're around 44 to 46%. Women dominant. And again, you can't unsee it if you look around.
Yeah.
But then you say, well, when that tipping point happens, it's going to run until about 2032. We're estimating a cap out between 68 and 72%. So again, it's not anti-men at all. It's just celebrating that the rise of women is happening at the same time the rise of economics and the way we look at the world has changed. The barriers from the past are gone. And most of those were not social at all. Most of the barriers, and we look back deeply over 3,000 years and we watch the hierarchy of the male dominant world that we're used to living in. And one thing I tell people, especially students, is please, I beg you, never judge the past. Ever. And the reason why you shouldn't judge the past is that you and I today, we are the past of our future selves. So, and I tell people this all the time. I've got a granddaughter. It's going to be born in about a month. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay, thank you. This is really cool. So here come the girls, literally. I don't know what to do. I've had 3 boys.
Wait a minute. Is this your first?
My first, yes.
Oh, wow. Well, really, congratulations.
Yay, I'm so excited. I can't see straight. But think about this. We know the first person to make it to 150 years old is alive today, probably a baby. So what is this little girl going to see? Let's just say 100 years. What's she going to see in the next 100 years? Mm-hmm. In the future, if you jump 100 years, they're going to look back at our time and say stuff like, oh, they use computer screens? Why didn't they just have a hologram? Or they did heart transplants? Ooh, why didn't they just grow one? You actually cut into people? And they're going to look at us and say, you're barbarians.
Right.
So our future self, where we think we're doing good, our future is going to think we're barbarians. So when you look back at the past, please don't think that. Just let them be and just look at it as a movie. You're watching a movie about the past without judgment. But when we look at gender specific roles in the past, it was basically based on red muscle mass. Guys are really good at cutting down trees, fighting off bad people, plowing fields, doing stuff like that. Women were in charge of labor production. That's just the way it is. If you had 8 kids and 5 of them made it, hey, that's good. That's great, actually. It was a time that we can't comprehend today. Mm-hmm. George Washington died of strep throat. 1 pill would have saved his life. They put leeches on him. Well, leeches were the most advanced medical thing of the time, but we look back at that and go, barbaric, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to look at this and be a little bit full of grace when it comes to the past. So the way business built and developed, and then you had the industrial age and the agricultural age, you needed men to do that. And women had different roles. Well, guess what? Those times are over. The agricultural revolution is done. The industrial revolution is done. Even early entry into technology, which now has shifted to female dominant, believe it or not, has moved on. So you look at all these things around and the barriers of the past, which no judgment. It's just, thank God those people worked as hard as they did to get there. But the outcome, when aligned with how we are today, it's a little rough. And women over the past 30, 40 years, Some of them, they had a hard run because they were in that scary part of change. But now we busted out of that, and you see that, hey, this is a neutral playing field. What's everybody got to offer? And we see what women offer is exactly necessary for the time today. And it all boils down to how women think critically around problem solving and working with teams. So you take that and you run it along with the math. Oh my God, it's going to be the most exciting thing that's happened ever. I think it's going to be the industrial, the agriculture, and the dot-com revolution combined, and probably doubled. That's how impactful women are about to be.
Wow. I mean, that is, you covered a lot in that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's so insightful, and it's such a great way to frame it all, to see where we're going, and even talking about the past. What do you see as the skills? Okay, so we already know that women are already stepping up as leaders and all of that, but what do you see to be maybe a skill gap that women will still have to figure out? Okay, here's where my brain is going. I have heard men say they think women are great to work with, except they're just so emotional. They cannot contain their emotions. Is this something that women will need to reel in?
No.
Is it something that can be a natural part of what they're accomplishing? I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, no, you should be.
And you're a guy, so it's fun to have this conversation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. There's weird data out there, right? There's all these preconceived notions that are put into it. Like, for example, we did this big study in dentistry. How weird is this? We went and asked consumers, what do you prefer, a male or a female dentist? Overwhelmingly, they wanted female dentists. And we said, great, why? And this is where it gets hilarious. They said, well, they're more gentle. No data supports that women are more gentle than men. None. It does not exist. Okay. And second, they said, well, women have smaller hands. And I'm like, when has a dentist ever stuck their hands in your mouth? They've got tools. So the perception of people around women, like emotions, more gentle and all, we don't have any data to support that. Now, do we know through lived experience? Yeah, I do know that women are kinder. They're more gentle. They look at things with empathy and sympathy more than guys do. But that's a trained response for men, not women. So when they talk about women being more emotional, thank God you're more emotional, because that is the connecting point that drives the differential between the prior male version that we've all been trained to do versus what's happening now and the necessity of that. So the new skills that women are bringing to the table that are so necessary in today's marketplace, no, don't hide that. Please be a woman. Please be you. Please celebrate your femininity. But, get out there and knock it down.
And so what if you want to go in and shut the door and cry? Who cares?
So do guys. We just don't admit it. Seriously, I can't tell you.
At all.
When I used to teach at Ranger School, one of the things we talked about, or post Ranger School, was the difference between fear and courage. And the irony is they live side by side. Women will talk about it. Men won't. And what we used to say is fear is what happens when you pee in your pants. Courage is what you're doing when you're wearing wet pants. You got to do the job.
Oh, wow. That's so good.
Yeah, but men will stand there and not talk about it, even though it's obvious what happened, but they'll try to put it on bravado because we've been trained that way. Right. Women will actually put their hand around you and go, thank you for being courageous. I know what you feel deep inside, but let's do this together. So that ability to move empathy and sympathy with emotions is what's needed. The guy's been doing it that way because we didn't have time to do it in the past. So it's a break between the social and economic construct of our culture. So no, you be a woman, you be emotional, you be the best you can be. That is why you're who you are. Don't try to change that ever.
I was going to ask you, because you've done all of this research all over the world, is this more of a cultural thing? Like what I'm telling you or what I'm talking about, is that I'm seeing it from our culture. Are you seeing the same thing across cultures?
We're seeing it, but we're seeing significant cultural impact. Like, for example, in South Korea right now, South Korea is ready. but their culture is still very family based, very father based. Like the father is the patriarch of the family, and it comes out, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is a beautiful tradition that they should embrace and do. But they're going to struggle with that one, for a minute, and it's going to take maybe a little bit of a longer generation to do it. So in that particular situation, culture is significant, but it's also something to celebrate too. It's a beautiful thing when you're there to see their traditions and to see what they're doing, and everybody seems to get along and like it. So it's like we can't go in there and say you're wrong, for doing it. But can we sit there and look at it through a forward lens and say that's going to change too? Yeah, we can. But that's not a bad thing.
No, but do you think that overall, as this rise and this shift starts to happen, do you think it's going to affect the family in a negative way, which ultimately is going to affect humanity?
No. In fact, one thing that I'll save you the pain, I'll save me the pain. One question I get asked a lot is, what was the aha moment? Was there anything that shocked us, in the story? There were a few, but the one that was the biggest and most important was the power of single moms. And when we looked at that, I was like, well, that's really interesting data. And we started studying it. And I'm getting back to the family, part of it. When we started studying single moms, I had one of the CEOs of a very, very large company, a female, tell me, she said, I can fire 100 people for every 10 single moms that I hire. These women outproduce, outperform, and outdo everything. And so I was like, wow, that's curious. So I started looking at it, and then I got emotional about it because I'm a single dad, but they're adults, so nobody really cares, But I can't imagine what it's like. I literally cannot comprehend the power of a single mom. But then you look at it, and this is what I say on stage all the time. I'm like, I don't know why single moms complain about how hard it is. It's not hard at all to be a single mom. Just stop saying it's hard. It's not hard. It's impossible to be a single mom. Yet these women get up every day and figure out how to do it. So if the extreme, a woman running her business or trying to build a corporate world or trying to rebuild a life after whatever happened, and they're putting everything toward their kids, their family, if on the extreme, she's willing to do that to accomplish something great. She's willing to accept pain to accomplish something great. She's willing to do things that nobody could, most guys can't even fathom, doing. Take that mindset. It's still a woman. She just happens to be in a situation where the cards fell on that side of the fence. But you look back on the other side of the fence, it's the same woman. She's just now juggling family and everything else and doing it with unbelievable grace and kindness and passion and making it happen. Are some traditional dynamics going to change? Maybe, but I don't think it's a bad thing. The fact that we're talking like this is insane to me, still. So we're going to see work and family change and adapt, but I think that was going to happen anyway. But what women are going to bring to this adaptation is going to put so much adrenaline and focus that whatever results change in the family unit and the way we look at a family and the way we manage people around a family while they're working, since it's going to be run by women, I got a feeling that it's going to be better, because she's going to be able to sit there and say, look, I know how to do this. I know how to do the impossible. And so therefore we can make this work, and she'll figure it out. So I don't think it's going to change for the bad. But
raising kids is the hardest job you'll ever have.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really is. Whether you're single or you're not single, it is number one of the most important job you'll ever have.
Yep.
But it is also the hardest. So yeah, I feel like if you can do that, run a home. I did all that. I ran a home, ran a business, raised my kids, and I not single, but my husband worked, so I still was basically the person that kept the home going. And so I this is just so interesting, and I just love hearing your perspective, and the fact that you've actually done all the research around this just makes it so valuable.
Yeah.
These aren't just ideas. You've actually done the research. So I love that.
Yeah. And actually, that's why when we first started talking about this, I went to a bunch of scholars and said, hey, let me show you the math. What do you think about it? And they were usually very, very quiet. And the general consensus was, We could publish an idea book, and get some rah-rah stuff out of it, but that's all it is rah-rah. We
Mm-hmm.
wanted to give this subject matter the credence that it needed and the credibility that it needed. So we threw it back into full academic study. So it was a doctoral study. It lasted a little over 4 years, and the depth of the research cannot be denied. And that's what we wanted. We didn't want to put something out there that you could poke holes into. So it's undeniable. Absolutely undeniable what's happening. But the secret is in what we discovered, and what was revealed to us is how women approach leadership in the future. So it's been naturally building, but it's part of that feminine power, that feminine divine energy that you bring to the table. At the same time, the culture and the construct of the marketplace and the workforce is changing too. This collision, I'm telling you, in the history of humanity, this is going to be one of those big five that we look back and go, wow, that's going to be one of those points where the world did change for the better. And we know the secrets now. We know what you ladies are doing. And what I tell crowds all the time and students is, this isn't a girl thing. It's just something girls do, which means we can teach the guys to do it. So the leadership style is so impactful that that's going to spread around, and you're going to see men learning how to do this in the future. But that doesn't separate from the fact that the math and the rise of women, with the reduction of the need for industrial and the need for red muscle mass, right? The need for that has gone away. So you're looking at 3 or 4 separate phenomenons that are colliding at the same time, and every single one of them is beautiful. And at the end, women are going to run everything, and we're going to have an economic impact that's beyond most people's comprehension. But within that economic impact, the creativity, the collaboration that women bring to the table, there's no telling what's going to happen as far as what barriers will continue to fall, what things will speed up, different ways of looking at things. I mean, we're going to see it across medical sciences, construction, architecture, space travel, mathematics, the way we look at things. All of it is going to hyper jump thanks to women. But it's a combination of a lot of things. It's not just one thing. But then when we look at what women do when they have it, oh my goodness, that's the best and the easiest part. It's kind of funny. We studied it for 4 years to come down to about 2 pages and go, just do that. Do what she did.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Like, if we get down to just some real brass tacks, what are some differentiators in how they lead and what they're doing? I heard you say collaboration. Yeah. I heard you, we talked about empathy, but one other thing you shared with me, Don, when we were talking about, doing the show, you had shared women actually have more retention and with customers and clients and even employees. And that really resonated with me, because I think back and I had clients for 20 years and I never thought about, my leadership style for that. Right. And I had employees that worked with me for years and years that followed me as my business grew. And so that really resonated with me, and I had to really think about that. But talk about that a little bit.
So the correlation does not always equal causation, right? So you can look at things that correlate, like shark attacks and ice cream sales and murder rates. All follow the same track. Exactly. Are they related? No. Is there an outside something that says, oh, this happens in all 3? Yes. And it's heat. When it's hot, people go to the beach, they get stupid, they get bit by sharks. Okay. When it's hot, people buy ice cream. Okay. Makes sense. When it's hot, people go a little crazy and they kill people. Okay. Great. But are they related? No. So when you see phenomenals happening like that, you got to step back and say, are they correlated? And the answer on the women is yes. It's not no. So we look at this and can say, what are these weird things? Like you mentioned, retention. So this is a true set of data here. Today, as we're filming this, in the world, let's just say North America, the average American worker is 39 years old. That same 39 years old, man or woman, changes jobs every 3 years. So kids coming out of college today are told to expect 10 to 15 3-year careers in their life, which crazy, to think about, but it makes sense. Okay. So you go, wow, okay, that's incredibly inefficient for an organization because you're training right about the time you get them
Right.
training, they leave. Your HR is moving backwards. It's the only time I've seen a corporate structure move backwards. HR finally got to the point of being strategic and in the C-suite where they need to be, but now they're going back to being personnel because they're just slinging bodies. They're trying to keep up with the rotation of people, unless a woman's running the place. So today it's 39 years old and they change jobs every 3 years. When they work for a female in leadership, same 39 years old. You can't change that. But instead of 3 years, it's 6 years. But you know
Wow.
what the
So it's
important number
double.
is? Oh, yeah, it's double. But the important number is that in years 4, 5, and 6, however the organization manages and measures production, it goes up.
I'm sure.
So it's not because there's some people that argue, well, you need to flush people out. They quit on you. Well, not if they work for a woman. Their production actually goes up in years 4, 5, and 6. And they when they leave, it's a celebration. They come back to the female, the leader, whoever, or HR and says, look, I'm moving on to something that's better for me and my family. It's a dream opportunity. But I want to tell you, I couldn't have done it had I not spent the past 6 or 7 years here. So thank you. So it's even different there, but we do know the difference, and I'll be happy to talk about that in a second. But go ahead.
I something just came to my mind as you were talking about that, and I was on LinkedIn yesterday, and I read a post or a couple of days ago. It was a Vistage chair that was talking about. It showed a picture of him with a room full of they were CEOs and business owners. Sitting around the table, and the whole post was about one of the CEOs said he was ready to fire her because she just couldn't keep up with the job anymore. His company had grown and all of this. And I'm sitting there reading them going, why doesn't he just give her another seat on the bus? Right. Like, why would you fire somebody who's loyal and all of that? Well, then at the end, that's what the Vistage chair guy had told him. But I thought I had to laugh because I thought, why would you have to be told that? Like, you want to keep good people, find a way to keep them. And I just think about running my businesses. So many times I moved people as the business grew out of the original position they were hired for. And I moved them into something that was going to be a better fit for them. And that's why I kept employees so long. And it's so interesting because it felt so natural that I didn't even give it any thought. It was just something that I knew to do. And that was that might be one difference, in how we think about things that just really kind of came up. And it was interesting. I probably tuned in more because we had already had a conversation.
Yeah, I love it. No, that is the difference. That is the singular difference. And we never were able to figure out if it's inherent, genetic, social. We couldn't figure it out. We just accepted it. I don't know if we could ever figure out what the real root is, but the way women approach situations is radically different than the way a male is trained to approach the same situation. And I'll tell you this really quick. And this actually happened in the middle of our study. There was a dock worker strike in Charleston. Most of the world didn't know about it. It lasted about a week or two. It was uncomfortable for people involved, but the vast majority of the world didn't know. But there were businesses that were really in trouble because we kind of live in an on-demand society. So when a ship comes in with supplies to get into your supply chain for your factory, it unloads, ships it. You're more than likely using that material pretty quickly, and production is moving. So the supply chain flow of something like that can be detrimental to organizations. Well, there's a scenario that happened down there that we studied and watched, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit for time, but under a male leadership, somebody came up to a male who ran a big factory and said, hey, look, there's a dock worker strike in Charleston. Our ship is sitting out in the harbor with all of our containers on it, and we've got about 4 days of materials left, or we're going to have to shut down the factory and change shifts. We're going to be in trouble. We have got to get that material. Under male dominant, under the traditional male trajectory of leadership, what the male is trained to do is to say, give me the data. I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to call down there. I'm going to get this thing fixed. So they literally absorb the problem themselves, the male leader does, and then they get involved in it. That's just what guys do, right? Because that's what we've been trained to do. Well, if you think about what just happened, you literally told the person on your team who's in charge of that, I'm more important than you, and I'm going to neuter you. I'm going to take all responsibility away from you and handle it myself, and I will give you back what I decide. So if you think about that from the perspective of how we are, it makes sense. It's how we're trained. It's what we're told to do. Just fix it. Guys, fix things. We also
Right.
break things. In fact, sometimes if it's not broke, we'll break it just so we can fix it. That's the way guys think. Okay. So, and every guy listening to this is like, yeah, what's the problem with that, man? Yeah, of
Kind of
course.
like a husband-wife fight. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, so that's the traditional male model, right? But the repercussion of that is that employee is sitting there going, oh, whatever. You know, I'm going to take every problem to you now because you're just going to take it away from me anyway. Well, that's incredibly inefficient. So let's put that to the side. Let's take the exact same scenario. We saw how women handled it. So female owning the company, the factory, running the factory, an employee comes up, the person in charge of the supply chain, and said, ma'am, you're not going to believe this. There's a dock worker strike. We think it's going to be quick. We don't know, but we're within 2 or 3, maybe 4 days of a supply chain issue if we don't get our cargo off that ship and get it to the factory. She handles it radically different. Whereas the male said, oh, give it to me, I'll handle it. That's fine. She actually adds 3 steps, but these 3 steps create a 300% increase in her output. And the steps are real simple. And I always tell people, sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person, and meet them in the middle. And what that means is the first thing that she does to that person is she separates the problem from the person. So that person didn't cause a dock worker strike, right? They're just the bearer of bad news, but that's their responsibility. So you need to respect that. So what she does instantly, she says, oh my gosh, yes, I saw that this morning on the wires and I listened to it coming in on the news. That's a real problem. So she separates the problem, but she acknowledges it and shows sympathy to it. That's a very real problem. So she separates it from the person. Then she looks back at the person, step 2, and she shows empathy to them. She literally says, and I'm paraphrasing, but something in her own words like, look, I know you didn't do this. Let's breathe. We'll figure this out. Are you okay? I want you to take a deep breath. It's going to be fine. I know it's your responsibility, but I also know you didn't cause it. I'm sympathetic. That's a real problem, but I'm empathetic to you. We'll figure this out. Okay. So she separates the problem, acknowledges it. Then she leans back in an empathetic mode to the person to kind of say, it's okay. Just breathe. But then she does something magical. And that's step 3. She meets them in the middle, meets them where they are. In her own words, she says something like this. Hey, if you had a magic wand, what would you do? How would you fix this problem? Now, here's where the data gets real specific. 94% of the people who bring you the problem know how to solve the problem.
Yes, that's true.
Right, because that's their world. It's what they do. They're the hero in charge of that. Yeah. So the person will say, well, I would get on the phone and call them, ask for emergency stay, whatever. Then she looks at them and says, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And so she's empowered them to do something. So sympathy to the problem, empathy to the person, and then meet them where they are. What actually happened just then was that person acknowledged that, the separation, the sympathy, the empathy, and then the understanding that they know what they're doing. That person feels seen, heard, and understood. And if you have a workforce that feels seen, heard, and understood, then they feel valued. And then by her saying, go do it, she's empowered them. So when you have people who feel valued and are empowered, get out of their way. They're going to move mountains, accomplish things. And what happens is now she knows it's going to be fixed. But what she did for the future was next time there's a dock worker strike, that same person who knows that they are seen, heard, and understood, they feel valued and they're empowered, they're going to come back to her and go, oh, ma'am, I don't know if you saw it. That was another one of those silly strikes the other day. I got it fixed. No big deal.
Got it covered. That's right.
And she's like, great, and moves on. But what that means, and this is the difference, what that means is the employees are going to stay longer. Why would you leave if you feel seen, heard, and understood? You're valued and you're empowered, unless a dream situation comes up, and then you go back and thank her, for it. So that's where the longevity and the retention comes from. But the production goes up because, unlike the man, she's got a team that's out there doing the work. So she can be innovative, creative, meet new clients, have ideas. The guy just threw himself back into the weeds and upset his workforce and told them that they're not valued. Now, again, there's no judgment there. That's how we've trained men since the Industrial Revolution, because that's what was necessary. If you think about this, in the Industrial Revolution, say 120 years ago, less than 6%, seriously, 6% of the United States had a high school education. So yeah, I can kind of see where back then the leadership would have had to say, oh my
Right.
God, this kid didn't even finish eighth grade, and I
Right.
can't expect him to do this. No judgment, just they had to do the right thing.
Hmm.
Maybe that drug out a little too long, like 100 years too long, but that's okay. But here
Probably.
come the girls. Let's say here come the girls and celebrate this. Right now, she is not trained that way. This
Mhm.
inherent thing that women have the ability to do, and they put in their time, they put in their 23 years, they learned all the skills. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you're automatically great at this. You got to put in the work, just like
Right.
guys do. Guys are down a different trump. Guys over here, or women are sitting there saying, wow, inherently, I know to help my people feel seen, heard, and
Mhm.
understood. It's the mom thing. It's like you said, running a family,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's the hardest job. And
We're
there's a lot.
nurturers by,
Oh,
yeah, by
bingo.
design.
That's
Hmm.
a great word. So she
Yeah.
just, by saying, I see you, I hear you, I understand you, I value you, and I'm empowering you, she
Hmm.
really is nurturing them. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful word. Thank you, Ann. That's great.
Yeah. Great.
So,
You're welcome.
but she's not out there now stuck in the weeds dealing with the problem. She's growing the
Mhm.
business. So this is where it gets really weird. We can teach guys to do that. And most guys are open, they're transformational mindset, and they're willing to do it. You got some laggers, let them go. Who cares? Okay.
Mhm.
Darwin will take care of them. That's what I tell people. Darwin was right. So don't worry about it. So you got to look at this and say, well, what's the economic impact? And you mentioned collaboration.
Mhm.
Another thing that we learned about women is if you put a male business and a female business, they're the same business, side by side in the same geographic area. All the data supports that the female owned business will outproduce the man in revenue and profits 3 to 1.
Mm.
3 to 1. And the
Those are
retention,
huge statistics.
it's
Yeah.
gigantic. It's gigantic. And the retention expands. So the internal cost and the employee's productivity goes up. And you have productive employees, you got better people. You could have a person leave you after 6 years and go start their own business.
Mhm.
Yay. We just added to the world. You made the
Right.
world better. But here's where it gets double science. So if we look at it and say, okay, women are going to take over, women can outproduce guys 3 to 1. In the year 2028, when this happens, what's going to be the economic impact? Well, it's simple, 3 to 1. We're going to start growing at a 3x rate rapidly. Now, yeah, the industry is going to shift and change. We all go through AI, whatever, things are
Right.
going to change, but she's going to be in charge and she's going to make those changes 3x what we know the traditional model would have done. So we're almost guaranteed a 3x growth coming up without question. But here's where it gets really weird. Men really like mergers and acquisitions. They like going into a company and say, you're broken. I'm going to buy you. I'm going to absorb you and I'm going to make you part of us. Mergers and acquisitions is basically what it is. Women don't dig that. All the data came back and said that they would rather collaborate than merge or acquire. So what happens in math?
That's interesting.
Oh yeah, they would rather work with a company, and they don't believe in competition. That's another thing. Women aren't so hung up on competition. Like I'm going to bury you. They don't do that. They're cheering for the competition because I think women inherently know that the pie of opportunity is greater than what anybody can get to. So if your competition is growing, then you should be growing too. It's not a bad thing. So instead of figuring out a way to acquire or merge, they're figuring out a way to collaborate. Like, and if I was a water company, I don't need to buy the bottling company. I can work with the bottling company, right? But if I'm growing my business 3x, then that bottling company is going to grow too because they're going to be making all of our bottles. We're going to collaborate and we will grow together. Well, the way math works, this is scary fun. You can't add percentages together. You can only multiply them, multiply or divide, right? So you look at it and you go, wait a minute, if the world's growing 3x, and the world starts to collaborate with each other. Ooh, what does that mean? That means 3x cubed in pure math. Now, if we're half wrong, who cares? It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened to us. But
Right.
when women start growing, they start changing the dynamics of the workforce. Think about the family. You talk about the family. Think about if you're a provider for your family, man or woman, and instead of thinking, oh my God, I got to change jobs every 3 years, you find a home, and you know that you're thriving and growing and you're not married to an outcome because one day something might pop up that'll be your dream job and you'll be ready for it. So
Right.
the combination of all of these things, when you throw it into this, I'll throw all these ingredients together. the impact women are about to have on society is so significant, Ann. It's going to be greater than all those other things in the past. And it's time, but it's not a girl thing. It's just something women do at the right time. So men will ultimately change and adjust. Colleges are already teaching this. We know it's coming up. So we have a generation that even though they're 23 years from getting to where they need to be, they'll be there and they're going to be better. So the future is nothing but great, thanks to women. And it's going to be how they critically think through, empower people, empower their teams so they can continue to be growth oriented and innovative and thoughtful while they're juggling 1,000 other balls in the air that you do as women and do it magnificently. So if you think about all of that combined, there's things we haven't even thought of that are going to benefit from this. And it's just such an exciting time. It's going to be great.
Oh, good. Oh my goodness. So when does the book come out?
It's already out.
It is out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Here Come the Girls is out. It was actually number one on Amazon for 15 weeks in the category. So that we're really proud of that. But if any of your viewers want a copy, we'll put it in the show notes for you or whatever you want to do. And they can reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I heard you on Ann's show and I'm happy to send you a free e-copy. I love your viewers. I love what you're doing. And we want to support you every way we can. Just get the word out.
Well, thank you. Wow, this has been such an amazing conversation and so much fun to dive into this. So, Don, I can't thank you enough for being my guest and all the great that you are doing out there in the world. And of course, being a female, I love to hear this. I've been hearing statistics for years now that women are going to take over wealth, and especially in our country, they're going to be taking over wealth. I believe if I heard right, I think by 2032. Women will actually own the wealth.
Yeah. Well, that's a byproduct also of the leadership side of it, so it is still an oblong thing when you look at wealth and where it's distributed. And that's not an argument for today. I don't even think it's an argument, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, women are going to have the wealth and the power and the keys. And I think the world's going to be jumping for joy, men and women, because the trickle down, the benefit that every single person, even we did hear this over and over. Women really do focus on the least among us. And so even the least among you is going to benefit, from this. So we're moving into some beautiful times and it's exciting. And all those things are going to be wonderful byproducts, of it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. To get Don's book, we're going to put everything in the show notes, or like he said, you can reach out to him on LinkedIn if you hear this and get an ebook for Here Come the Girls. And what was the sub headline again? A
celebration of why women are going to take over global leadership in 2028.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. All right, everyone, make sure you subscribe to the show and make sure you share it. Sharing is caring. If you need help in your business and you're looking to move into premium markets and really elevate your business to be seen and heard and paid for what you have earned over your years of experience, then reach out to me and let's look at the strategies to help you do that. I'm Ann Carden, and this has been Expert in You Podcast. Have an amazing day. God bless you. Bye-bye.
The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Although I share strategies, ideas, and success stories based on real experiences, results are never guaranteed. Every business is unique, and outcomes depend on individual effort, market conditions, and many other factors. By listening, you agree that I and my guests are not responsible for your results or actions based on the content shared.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you're as excited as I am about scaling up your influence, business, and bank account, then I have just the thing for you. But first, make sure you subscribe to the show. Second, make sure you share it with someone you care about, because sharing is caring. And third, head on over to join me in my next free virtual exclusive workshop, where we'll explore proven strategies to boost your business and maximize your potential. Look, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're looking to take your business to the next level, my workshops are designed for you. So head on over to expertinyouworkshop.com to reserve your spot and get ready to transform your expertise into extraordinary success. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and helping you achieve incredible growth. Until next time, make sure you're always seeking the expert in you, and God bless. Have an amazing day.